1990s.
Right.
They were in high concentration.
Okay.
A small amount was enough to, for a whole field. So they advised to reduce the concentration of these solutions.
Right.
And they did that.
Okay.
And we have results.
Okay.
Right? And the second one was to reduce the access to these lethal methods.
Right.
That means if it's a farming family, the pesticides and weedicides have to be kept in a box, locked, and the key has to be kept by just one person. It's not accessible easily. It is not easily accessible.
Okay. Okay.
And so remove these methods from the reach of people, from easy reach of the people, and it has been effective. And another very important recommendation of theirs was to change the way suicide is perceived, talked about, and reported.
Right.
In other words, this is called suicide culture. Suicide culture is the culture closely linked to the act of suicide and other factors connected to that.
Okay.
Now, let me ask another question from you. Say somebody says, you hear that somebody has attempted suicide, and you get to know that the person has done it for a little argument after mother or loved one, and then attempted this, and then you say, my goodness, for that you took that overdose, right? For such a trivial reason you tried this. Now there's a hidden message in this sentence. Do you want to guess that?
Shall we go for a short break?
Right.
And then give Jason and I some time to think
Yes,
as well,
I do
and
need
then
that
come
time.
back and answer the doctor's question, because it is a question that requires a bit of deep thought, I think.
Yes.
So let's go for a break and we'll find out after the break.
Since we got it wrong at first.
Good morning, Sri Lanka. Welcome back to the show on a Monday morning. You're here with Jason and I. I'm Amaya, and you're
Hey.
here with us on the show. We have with us Dr. Mahesh Rajasuriya, who's been speaking to us about a prevalent issue here in Sri Lanka, something that he mentioned has been brought down in the recent years since 1996 when the Presidential Task Force did their report, and this is about suicide, the suicide rate here in Sri Lanka. Just before we went for the break, the doctor asked us a question. Jason and I had a small discussion during the break, but
Which
I'm
I
going to
came up
ask
with the right answer about.
so I'm going to ask the doctor to repeat the question, and then we'll see whether our answer is correct.
Let me give a little background to it and then give you the question.
Go for it, doctor.
Say a young girl, and her mother brings two dresses for her and her sister. Her one was, say, 950 rupees, and the sister's one was 1050 rupees, 100 rupees more.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And she is very upset about it, has an argument with the mother, and take an overdose of some, say, mother's tablets.
Right.
Now she is taken to the hospital, say in the middle of the night, and obviously the nurses and doctors are a bit irritated, and they take the history, they ask what it is, and they, she tells them the story, and then say the nurse or the doctor gets very, very irritated and say, is that what you took that overdose for? Is that what you tried to take your life for? What is the hidden message there? What is the hidden meaning in that sentence?
Okay, so Jason and I had a small discussion during the break,
Which I
and
gave her the answer for.
of course you did. Of course you gave the answer. I gave the answer. But so, okay, doctor, we think that it's the message there is there are better things that you can take your life for. That there are bigger things to consider than a dress costing 100 rupees more or less.
If it was a bigger thing, it is okay to take your life. Right?
Okay.
So that doctor or nurse was actually promoting suicide.
Right.
Yeah.
That is suicide culture.
Okay.
We are not aware that we are doing it, but it's in our culture, it's in our way of talking, it's in our way of responding.
Yeah.
The jokes and the way it's reported in the media, right? Where we tend to accept it as a method of solving our problems, a method of communication, something which we generally do. That has to change. That, well, that has been changed to a certain degree. That's why the suicide rate has come down. So the Presidential Task Force advised especially media to report suicide in a very serious standard manner,
Okay.
not to trivialize it, you know, not to give a simple reason because the dress was 100 rupees less, the girl committed suicide. It should not be reported like
Yeah,
that.
yes.
It should be reported very, formally and with lot of care, not to promote suicide culture but to demote it.
And to sort of go into the background of maybe this girl had a history of mental sort of depression, or always feeling that they're second to someone else.
Yeah.
So it's all, you have to then go into the background of why the suicide would have happened, as opposed to just the plain reason that everyone else can see.
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
because suicide is a complex phenomenon,
Right.
we have to post it, we have to report it as it is. We should not trivialize it, and that way, and to give lot of details about the exact act. At what time she decided to do that, and next what did she do, and then what were the thoughts she had and the feelings she had. Give all details is a very dangerous thing,
Yeah.
because that can give rise to this phenomenon called copycat suicides,
Right.
which is one does an act of suicide,
Okay.
it's given wide publicity, and then you see a series of similar acts.
It inspires the person that's actually thinking about this to go about suicide.
It sounds so implausible, but it does happen.
Right.
And when suicide is shown in an attractive way in a movie
Right.
or a TV series, there are repeated observations
Right.
that the suicide rate in that locality
Right.
goes up, imitating that particular method.
Right. So entertainment does have a contributing factor to this when it comes to TV shows or whatnot, even the internet. Probably.
Yeah, for that matter. So then, what do parents do, and what do we as individuals do to prevent this suicide culture from taking hold, especially of the youth, which is important to protect them and sort of shield them from that culture, and actually not to shield them, to make sure that the culture doesn't exist
To
in the
change the
first
culture.
place. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that to change, Amaya, I think we have discussed change in previous programs as well.
We
The
have?
first step is to know that you need to change.
Okay.
So to know that you need to change, you need to know what you are doing now.
Yeah.
So you need to start becoming conscious of these little things that you say, which promote suicide culture, and you should be more conscious. You should be more able to detect the reports on media which actually contribute to suicide culture. So you need to spot them, you need to develop your skill, your ability to detect them, and then you would feel, the natural thing that would happen is that you would feel an increasing uneasiness inside you. So you feel the need to change this,
Yeah.
and then only you can change. You can't just do it mechanically. You have to feel the passion inside you, need the need inside you. So in that way, each person has a significant responsibility in bringing down the suicide rate further in Sri Lanka. Changing the little jokes that you said previously. We have jokes, we have various things. We say it would be better to die rather than going out with you.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that line used, not on me, but
Yes.
but I've known friends who have used that line to another. So yeah, I can
So,
understand where you're coming from. The
So I'm
suicide
guessing
culture.
bullying has a huge impact when it comes to suicides as well when it comes to this country. What would you recommend to, for example, if school children that tend to do the bullying, how would they go about, stopping this?
Yes. Let me again emphasize that whatever the stressful condition is, suicide is not an option.
Right.
Even if you are
okay.
being bullied, suicide is not an option.
Right.
There are multiple options that you can
Yeah.
take. So let's take a look at some of them. So one thing is, bullying is also this culture, just like suicide culture, there's a bullying culture, where people are aggressive, and aggression is seen as the norm, and it is the better way. The heroes are aggressive and others are passive. So they bully. So if you are also powerful enough, you can also bully others. You can't bully others because you are not powerful enough. So everybody wishes that I would be powerful enough so I can bully others. So that culture has to change. And if you are being bullied, be assertive. I think we talked about assertiveness some time back.
Yes.
Be assertive, firm, straight. Look at the person in the face and tell the person, I'm not going to do it, or you're not going to do this to me. Oh, I'm going to report this, right? Say it's cool. You just say that, right? But be prepared with your plan B and perhaps C. So you should be able to know who to talk to and who to report to and what to do after that.
Fastest route to escape.
Yes. If it and don't do it in a cornered area where in the toilet where nobody else is there. Don't do that.
Be smart about it as well.
Be smart. Assertiveness is not being stupid. You have to be smart about it.
Yes.
Don't you don't have to accept that. Do not accept bullying. Do not accept bullying yourself. Do not accept bullying happening in your school, in your family, in your lane, in your locality. We should not accept that.
All right. So that's the way the individual can react. But you spoke earlier about the role of the media and how the task force told the media, that they have to really change the way that they approach suicide. So again, then, can we have a concise answer about what the role of media becomes in that instance?
Yes. Actually, the task force recommended that the media should be more careful, and even before that recommendation was made, media itself, journalists themselves have been compiling guidelines in various forms, in various countries, various organizations. We have our own Sri Lankan guidelines on how to report suicide in media.
I see. So there is a protocol that has to be followed at each instance.
We wish that journalists would follow that. It's not a law, it's not compulsory, but it's kind of a self-discipline. It's personal
Code
ethics.
of ethics.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the main points in these standard ethics in any country, including Sri Lanka, that suicide should not be glorified, dramatized. You should report it as it is. Somebody killed himself or herself, and this is the context it happened. Don't ever suggest a simple reason as the reason for suicide, because that is not the case. That is not the case. I mean, you need a thing called complex psychological autopsy to decide what was the probable cause or the series or the complex set of causes of the suicide.
Okay, so this is like a physical autopsy. This is going over the events surrounding the suicide, is it?
And then you come up with hypotheses and you test them out, and then you finally decide, okay, these were probably the causes that were contributing to suicide, which is usually complex. The personality, the stressors, some mental illness if it was present, substance abuse, people who use substance are at a higher risk. So but what happens in real life is that the journalist goes and asks the policeman what happened, and the policeman say, this guy failed an exam, so he committed suicide. The journalist reports, after failing exam, the person has committed suicide, which is not true. And then it gives an idea to the people that it's people fail exams and then they commit suicide. So contributed to the suicide culture.
I see. Okay, so these are the things that media has to follow when it comes to reporting suicide. But right now we have to go for a very short break, Doctor, but we'll be right back on Good Morning Sri Lanka with much more insights, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.